Hey everybody, welcome back. My name is lukemick and this is my review for The Equalizer. So The Equalizer is the new Denzel Washington action movie, and it's basically about a man who just kind of does good things. He's an ex-CIA agent who works at like a Home Depot. He has friends there, and he just likes to do good things in kind of a violent manner. There's a girl played by Moretz who is a prostitute at the age of probably my age, 17, and she gets beat a lot. Denzel Washington decides to do something about that. He totally wails on all the guys who are pretty much using her, and that starts this whole thing with the Russian mafia, and that's pretty much what this movie is about, is Denzel Washington basically eliminating the entire Russian mafia. This movie is very, very over the top, it's very stupid, and it really takes a while to get into things, but once it does, the movie turns out to be enjoyable to watch, but it's just all so stupid. Now, first of all, Denzel Washington in this movie, he's just an action guy, and he doesn't say a lot. He's just a really kind of mild-mannered guy when he's out in society, but once it's time for him to kick ass, he does that, and he does it in a pretty brutal and awesome way. It's just that Denzel Washington in this movie really isn't acting, he's just kind of playing this very stoic action star. So my biggest problem with this movie is essentially the pacing, especially in the first half of this movie. This movie is about 2 hours and 15 minutes long or something like that, and I'm not even kidding. Literally, the first half of the movie, pretty much nothing happens. It's mostly just about Denzel Washington helping his friends with things at work and just building a little relationship with Moretz's character, and he's also doing these little street cleanup jobs. He sees some guy getting robbed and he decides to help that guy who's getting robbed. I mean, that's basically all this movie is doing for about an hour and 5 or so minutes, and I was really just sitting there in the theater is this thing ever gonna get going, or is it always gonna be this boring? I mean, the first chunk of this movie is truly awful, but then the second half of this movie, it really picks up on the action. He has some good headbutting scenes with the main villain in this movie, who is your typical Russian bad guy, but I mean, he was enjoyable to watch on screen against Denzel Washington. And then we get that final battle, and it's a pretty cool final battle scene, and it's really entertaining to watch, but the whole movie is so, like I said, stupid. It's incredibly cheesy. There's one scene that was so unnecessary. I don't know why it was even in there, but it's Denzel Washington walking in slow motion with this barge behind him, and the barge just explodes, all in slow motion, and then all these pipes start exploding, and he's just doing his badass walk away from the explosion, and I was laughing. I was on the floor crying because I thought it was so just stupid and funny. Another thing is that Moretz is barely even in this movie at all. I mean, she's the one that kind of started this whole war that Denzel is fighting, but she's barely in the thing, and they don't really tell you a lot about this girl, and then she kind of pops up for a second at the very end, and the very end of this movie is just horribly lame. This whole movie, it's really not my kind of movie. I was laughing at it more than I was oh wow, that's so cool. I was laughing at this movie almost the entire time. I think it kind of fails as an action movie for that first half, because that first half, like I said, is just horrendous, but then the second half, it really starts to pick up its pace and it becomes more entertaining, but I was laughing at it for the most part. I'm sure people will enjoy this movie for its over-the-top zaniness, but it's something that I usually just don't get into, and I just thought it was pretty funny. So I'm going to give The Equalizer 2.5 out of 5 stars. I'll admit I am kind of excited to see a sequel, just because the last half of this movie just kind of made it really fun to watch, but it just took way, way, way too long to get into what was really happening in this movie. I hope they can fix that in the sequel. So this is lukemick signing off. Please subscribe, and I will talk to you guys later.